Hi, everybody. I think I'm live. Am I live? I'm live. All right. No music, none of that nonsense. Just going to get right down to business here. And the truth of the matter is, there's no real business today. Just chit chatting, just talking. And it's been a really long time since I've done the just hanging out talking. I think we last weekend we were pretty busy. So last weekend I made several videos, lives, discussions, whatever. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to try to get back into the swing of things. And the truth of the matter is, Friday nights and Saturday nights are saturated with really talented, YouTube creators. So I thought I'd try, okay, we'll try early Friday afternoon and see how that goes. Hey, Tennessee volunteer girl, how are you doing? Good to see you. Um, so so I did go live earlier and do a video where I basically was venting. Yes, I was venting my emotion. I'm pretty irritated and put out with Tony Mathis. Um, although a lot of people don't agree with me, a lot of people disagree with me when I say, I wish I wish he could proclaim his independence away from Tony, because it's not it's not that I think Tony's making the decisions. I just think that Tony is the influence. And I think that because Seth is he's dealing with a missing son. He's heartbroken, he's grief, he's angry about it. And maybe that has left him open to someone that he may not would have ever exposed himself to in the past. Or I could be dead wrong, and Tony Mathis may be exactly the kind of person that Seth would bring into his life and hang out with and have fun with. So, I could be totally wrong. Hey, voice for the voiceless, how are you doing? So I'm not going to pressure you, but if you want to come up and chit chat, because this is just a conversation, I don't have anything planned to talk about. Just trying to get into like a better posting habit, a more regular posting habit. So if you want to come up and talk, then I would love to have you, but don't feel pressured, please. But yeah, I'm angry about the way that this thing with Seth has been handled. And I think someone needs to step up and say to him, you're making bad choices. You're alienating the very people that I would say bring closer. And then the people you're bringing closer are the people that I would run from, like not have anything to do with. So that's where it's found you through Brittany. Listened to your stream earlier. Well, welcome, Show Paradise. Thank you. Or Parodies. Oh, please don't make a parody of me. I'm always so afraid. Show Poodles. I'm an old lady. I don't have my contacts on. So you raise show poodles. Is that true? Do you have the big ones? And what are they called? Standards? Okay, I'm gonna put you up on the stage, voiceless.
Hi.
How are you?
I am well. It is hot. We have hit
so hot
here. It is 90 degrees in dry heat and
crazy. That's crazy that it's 90 where you are.
Oh, we'll go up into the hundreds. I live in a high plains desert, 4 inches of rain a year.
Ugh. Yeah, it is hot. It's hot down here on the Gulf Coast too.
Well, you got that humidity that's
sticky.
Yeah, I would be a puddle. I would be out there in your I would be out there off your yard. I'd get caught streaking. I'd
Yeah.
just be back and forth between the water in the house and the water in the house, and I'd get caught streaking. And I'm sure your neighbors would hate me. So we won't change houses.
So our next door neighbors is a retired guy, and he tickles me because he goes out there in the morning. So we have breeze all the time, like coming off the ocean. It's all the time. It's wonderful. Like I can't even tell you. He gets out there in the morning, sun coming up, and he only has his robe on, only. And he just stands there like this, and he just lets the breeze blow.
Well, hey,
So
I bet he has a really good attitude every day. Maybe
he has a great idea.
Do that.
He is the friendliest, low-key guy you could ever meet. Never gets upset about anything. He's a good guy.
Okay, so interestingly enough, Mr. Mathis, we found out yesterday that Mr. Mathis has had several stupid GoFundMes for other people that are affiliated with his company.
It's so crazy. And you have to ask yourself, do those people at his company know?
I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I have questions on, okay, number one, we know that GoFundMe takes a good portion of the money that's raised, right? Because that's how it exists. But the other part of that is, what is the transparency? We've been around these streets long enough that we've seen people that have done the same thing where they start the GoFundMe and then suddenly it's, oh, well, I know it says that, but this is what they gave. On top of that, GoFundMes there's tax implications for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you got people that have good intentions, but you're also going to get somebody who's in the darkest moment of their life, and they may not be prepared for something like that. And then a year from now, when they file their taxes, now they've got a bigger.
What do you mean I owe so much on this particular income?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And where did this come from? All of a sudden, a 1099
arrives. Yeah.
Arrives. So that right there, that has me worried. And then you learn of like the actions that he's done, talked about the CrimeCon thing. And then he has his green screen accident. But instead of just fessing up and saying, yep, oops. I had a wardrobe.
Just say oops, right? Just say oops.
And Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl.
Yes. Yes.
Wardrobe malfunction. Sorry about that.
That's right. That's right.
We all make mistakes. We all have cam slips. We all have hot mic moments. It's part of social media, right?
That's right.
But to then say that others photoshopped it, that shows deceit. So then that makes me have to question your ethics in business. And now we see that you're in the missing world and you're raising money.
It's crazy.
Are you here just to fleece off of these people?
I think yes. I think now we know, now that the facts are coming out, like about Idaho 4. No, I think he was setting up for this. I think he was gearing up.
I didn't realize that until I watched your video this morning. And that's why I added in my little comment about, hey, you found that. Well, we found this yesterday.
It's crazy.
So then when you start adding everything together, what does it show you? It shows you exploitation.
It does.
Listen, that has been my sticking point since we had that conversation with Ryan 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 years ago. And I know I meander here and I meander there and I have a mouth on me, but it's always right is right, wrong is wrong. And we don't exploit the victims. Period. The end.
But doesn't this seem like the highest form of exploitation? Like this?
Because he's also involving a parent. Parents can be brought in on an exploitative. What is that the right?
It's exploitative.
Exploitative. Mm-hmm. Yes. Parents can be brought in into exploitation without even knowing it because they're so lost in their grief.
Agreed. And I think it's so suspect. Now you guys have come up with these GoFundMes. You don't really know. Do the people know that these GoFundMes are there, or is he collecting money for it? Like what?
Well, and that was something that was something that I said last night. I was like, okay, now I got questions. I don't know how GoFundMe works because listen, with the missing people that I work with, number one, we never recommend using GoFundMe. What we tell the parent, what we tell the family members is to open a local donation account at a bank that has several branches in towns around you. And then
Yeah.
you always open a catastrophic donation account at US Bank because it's coast to coast and they have the online and anybody can go and donate anywhere into that from all over from globally, right?
Okay.
So, and then they're in financial institutions, but before you can open those, you have to call 1-800-TEL-A-10 and you have to get an EIN so that becomes the tax liable. You don't have to have trust documents. You don't have to have any of that. You call, you get an EIN, and then you set that up through US Bank and a local bank. Now, 100% of that money is in there. There's a statement, there's a ledger. You got to sign when you take it out, and you can be 100% transparent.
And the EIN, that represents the victim, the person who's going to be getting the money out?
No, that becomes the tax liable. EIN is just like the social security number. It's like a freestanding.
Yeah,
so
I know what that
way, the account is the tax liable, right?
So if I was going to set up something, a way to collect money for, I don't know, let's
like
say
they bury behind bars. Your bird buried behind bars. You're going to collect money. To get him into a better cage, right?
Yes. So I'm going to get an EIN for Barry or for me?
You're going to get an EIN for Barry for the funding of Barry's building. Does that make sense?
And then Barry uses the EIN to pay the taxes on that income. Okay, yes. I got you. And so as a victim's advocate, when you're dealing with people in this capacity to try to help with funding or whatnot, that also opens the door for the conversation of you're going to get these donations, you're going to get this money, but there's going to be a tax liability that's going to be attached to that.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
And so when they set up a GoFundMe, I mean, you got to remind them, hey, look, you just don't want somebody. You just don't want to, like, in 6 months when you go pull that money out or in 6 weeks or whatever, and you forget that, yeah, I did get this large portion of money. And now you got to file your taxes next year.
Yeah.
Now you just got.
And there's a lot of YouTubers that don't even file taxes on their YouTube income, much less educate them that they're going to have to pay on that GoFundMe.
Well, okay. So what we found out, a chatter had come in and said that you can actually search on GoFundMe by the name of the person that starts the funds. So I'm going to be interested in cross-referencing because I bet you there's a Facebook group out there that is split, just like what happened with the Caleb Harris. So it started in one Facebook group and then it split just like it always does, that we always see. If you follow these cases, when they go into Facebook, then pretty soon there becomes an anti and a pro. It starts out in one group and then that group splits and there becomes anti and pro.
Yeah.
And then, so there's an anti-Tony group, there's a pro-Tony group. So I would be curious to see with all of these others, hey, Cinnamon, I would be curious to see with all of these others, if there's not a Facebook group that supports where the GoFundMe's at, and if there's not an anti and a pro.
Oh, it is. As little time as that man's been on the scene in the Sebastian Rogers case, he has created so much chaos, so much.
And listen, I think Seth has his own issues. Clearly, I think he is stuck still loving somebody and he's never moved on and he's stuck in the past. But what I truly believe is that the people that are surrounding him, the people that have circled their wagons around him, they are perpetuating an environment. They're making the perfect petri dish to promote and push out that bad behavior so that he outwardly presents as a shit show, so to speak.
Yeah, it does look contrived, doesn't it? It looks purposeful.
It looks like somebody's got something, like they're making him look. And trust me, I got my own questions. And I know that you and I sit on opposite sides of the fence on this, and we're okay we're friends enough that we're okay, and we have enough respect for one another that we're okay to disagree. We're not going to reach through the screen and pull each other's hair. We're not going to, screw you, we're not going to be doing,
Right.
and listen, I see it a little bit differently, but I was also a kid that grew up with parents that were very heavy handed.
Yeah.
Right. So I
Yeah.
see it differently because of my own perspective. But I'm also willing to know that I wouldn't have these views if I didn't have that environmental factor. Right.
Sure. Of course. Worldview's different depending on how you grow up and the people in
Right.
your life. That's right.
Right. So what I also see are two parents that are very, like with Chris and Katie, they're very squared away. It's very cut and dried. I had two great conversations with Chris over on Queen's panel.
You don't think Chris is messy?
No.
He's so messy to me.
See, and I see Seth as being the messy one, Jules. I don't see Chris as that. Listen, of all the people on this platform, I'm one of the most contentious. You either love me or you hate me. There's really no in between. And that man never raised his voice. That man never snarled. That man, and I finally said, I'm like, dude, what the hell's the deal? I am one of the only people that like legitimately you can yell out here and cuss out, and you're not picking a fight with me. What is going on?
Yeah.
He's one of those that it's a lot like me. You get what you give. And if you give me attitude, if I get attitude from you, you're getting it right back. If you give me kindness, I'm going to sit back and give kindness back.
Yeah. So, but he's in like in Illuminati or with you, he knows that he's in an environment where people are, they don't believe that somehow he or Katie were responsible for what happened with.
I don't think any of the them are. I really don't, because what have we learned? We learned that Seth had him a Google account. Seth had him unfettered internet access. Listen, we know what that we've seen what, like, you had your own weirdo person. I've had my shit happen in my life out here.
Yeah.
We both know that there are weirdos all over the place on this damn interwebs, right? We know this.
Yeah.
The potential. And what was the one thing that child wanted? Friends.
Yeah. Which makes him a really easy target, like in the game rooms and things like that. It makes him an easy target. And I think what bothers me about the whole thing is the camera and the lights. We know now the lights were turned off. Now, Chris innocently said in the Nancy Grace interview, he innocently said those lights are on all the time. And when you look at that side of the house, you look at that driveway, there's a light on either side, and the trash can is the one that's right in the middle. So this belief that the camera didn't pick up someone, that's hard to believe.
Hey, listen, law enforcement, it might be part of their investigation, and law enforcement has the right to hold information back because it might be something. And everybody digging into this stuff, again, I go back to this stupid, I call her Bob Binoculars. I mean, she's a neighbor from 2 streets down around the way.
Bobby, the interview.
Yeah. Okay. I call her Bob Binoculars because, like, I mean, she seems like
he's watching.
I'll be watching you. I mean, like, damn, it all that did, hearing her interview, man, if that didn't cause me to be like, every time I drive out my house, I am looking at all my
neighbors. They're watching. You got neighbors. You got neighbors that are doing that. I promise you do.
I know.
Yes.
I know.
And it's a little disconcerting. It is.
That in and of itself for me was like, oh crap, I need to tighten up my own OPSEC. This is, and listen, so I have a really bad habit before I go to bed. I check all the outlets. Like if I've been in the kitchen and I've cooked and I have a tendency to leave the air fryer plugged in, I unplug and I check all the switches. Now, what's the potential that night Katie went through and she turned everything off? Not even like out of, like, just out of, listen, she was exhausted. She, they had been talking about, they'd been watching a show on the phone together. He noticed she was starting to fall asleep. You know, it's also, he was, you know, he had been gone a little bit longer. When you look at what the timeline shows, he had been gone a little bit longer than he normally had. You know, I mean, and that's,
You
listen,
talking about like when he was gone, like in January and didn't come in February?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I know that they've said rumors that, oh, their marriage was bad. It was this, it was that. You know what? Marriages are hard work. And unless you've been in one that's multiple years long, I don't want to hear anything out of you, because people fight, people make up. I know people that have been married that hate each other, but they're too stubborn to let the, you know, to call it quits with the other one. And it
Sure.
still works. Toxic,
No.
not toxic, whatever, what have you.
Yeah, I would say probably the majority of long marriages have had periods of separation. That's not a huge
No,
red flag, but I think there are some red flags. I mean, I think, you know, there were some peculiarities at
okay,
the very
give me
least.
one. Give me one.
I think it's peculiar that he was on the crane at 5:30 in the morning when they don't start till 7.
No.
I think that's peculiar.
If you have to, like, okay, so job site starts at, or work time starts at 7. That's when everybody's going to be on the job site, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So in order to get that job site ready for everybody to do their other things, what has to happen? The crane operator has to come in, and sometimes they have to move stuff from over here to get it to where all the other construction workers are going to do their part, right? Because you can't just, it's not like Roman times where we get 500 men together and we heave the stone and walk it over. No, we use our technology. We use what we have. Also, when you're operating crane, you have to be aware of everybody and around. So
Sure.
if you know that you got a whole crew coming in at 7, I would rather get myself set up so that I can operate what I need to do and not worry about, am I going to hit somebody in the head while I'm whipping around to get all this stuff done? I don't find that odd. I don't find it odd at all. You got to also remember he's military, and they're going to do absolutely everything.
Well, I think it feels like a red flag to me. However,
I'm going to turn the camera
there
off so I can step out and smoke. So I'll listen.
okay, go ahead. I feel like it's a red flag to me. However, they're not accountable to me. The cops and the work site manager,
right,
the project manager, they would know if Chris was acting out of the ordinary on that morning. I
Correct.
wouldn't know that. That would not be I just think that that's sort of a curiosity, that's a strange factoid, right? But it doesn't mean that it has nefarious meaning, but the project manager would know if that was a
absolutely. I agree with that. Project manager would absolutely know if it were out. And listen, law enforcement has done their due diligence and checked up. One of my concerns, okay, and this is a moment of wild speculation, okay?
I love
wild speculation. Here we go. All right. So one of the things we've learned about Seth is that he's definitely not over Katie, right?
I think there's still some pretty strong attachment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We have heard him say that he didn't have a girlfriend for 7 years. There's nobody to cook for him.
I thought he was with this Miranda, or I don't know, some girl.
Yeah, listen, I think that might have been a person of opportunity trying to further, because look where that person has ended up. That person's now with T-Rev, and he's now living down there with her.
Has T-Rev always lived in Tennessee? I don't know why that shocked me. I was
in Illinois. He was or Indiana, I believe, with another woman. Like, he's still married to the wife, and like very far behind on child support, like $50,000 plus in child support.
Oh my God.
While bragging that he's making $18,000 a month on YouTube, pimping other people's tragedies and pretending to be one with.
No, from
my perspective.
I have to have a conversation about the tragedy pimping. How do we define tragedy pimping? Like, is what I do, is that tragedy pimping?
I don't believe so.
I don't get,
I don't
collect.
believe so, because you also got it. You have to remember, you're one of the few out here that comes with an education behind her name. You have initials and you have credentials, and you also are in a field of expertise where you have to deal with so many of the crazy people like myself that we do have some credibility, but or like credentials behind our name, but we don't always act appropriately. I have yet to see you step out of line. I know you and I have, we've batted back and forth and we've bantered back and forth, but in the end we still have a mutual respect that we're not just going to go to blows, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've never even been like angry with you or
No,
nothing like that. I just think we have different opinions
we
on
have
some.
we have different opinions
Yeah,
because again, we have different environmental factors. You have a different life experiences than I have, and I sorry.
yeah. So like when I hear the story of the belt and
Right.
the chaos, that Sebastian may have been exposed to, I'm falling back on my experience. I teach parenting skills. I teach
Right.
people. I work with people that are on the spectrum, adults that are on the spectrum, high functioning, girls on the spectrum. So there, yes, everybody that has autism it's unique to the expression of the influence of autism is unique to each person and what they're involved in, right?
Mhm.
But there's some pretty clear rules. For example, girls on the spectrum, the array of symptoms that they demonstrate can look very different than a boy the same age on the spectrum. So they're mostly undiagnosed or underdiagnosed because girls on the spectrum tend to just be more verbal just because of that female brain. And so they very often will come off, a girl on the spectrum will like their testing numbers and whatnot will be more consistent with a neurotypical boy,
Right.
but for their natural gifts and abilities they're not quite as verbal as you might expect them to be. So high IQ very often will go along with autism. So so I work with them and I think, you made your situation so much more chaotic and worse by being angry, by demonstrating this anger, because all the kid on the spectrum is going to do is mirror back to you what you're doing. But if no one ever took the time to explain that to Christopher and Katie, then how would you expect them to know that?
But here's the other thing. That was one instance we heard of. You would think if there were more, those would have poured out of the woodwork, right?
Well, again, my own personal experiences, work, professional
Right.
experience, whatnot, it is an enormous, huge red flag that we're looking at multiple CPS cases in 2 states.
With
That's huge
multiple parents.
because
With with multiple male parents.
because it is very difficult in 2024 or 23. It's very difficult to get CPS to even open a case because they don't have any resources now. There's no open beds to take a child into foster, even if that child is living in a life or death situation. So to hear that in the last 10 years, there were at some point, I don't know what the
Okay,
exact
so
date.
part of it happened because of her filing for divorce from Seth, right?
So that was the divorce prompted the CPS call?
Well, no, the CP. Okay, so okay, so apparently, prior to the divorce, there was a CPS incident about that Seth has talked about where he said he was going to clean your room or I'm going to bust your butt. Now, let's not forget the child was between the ages of, I mean, approximately 5 when this incident happened. Goes to school, tells his teacher that his dad was going to bust his butt.
Yeah.
Beat him. So what does Seth do? You know, then the teacher's mandatory reporter. It's in California 10 years ago. That is
Right.
pre-COVID. And at that point in time, California was also, if your kid was being bullied and your kid stepped up back to the bully, your kid became the bully. Right?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Which
Right.
I'm totally against, because we
I'm
should
so
never
against.
make someone a victim. Let them fight and protect
Yes.
themselves.
Right. And you're taking power away from somebody and you're
Correct.
making them less than. And we don't
Correct.
do that.
Correct.
Especially with somebody that's already in the victim role. We don't make them lower than.
Exactly.
We lift them up to bring them back to what they are, right?
Yeah.
We help empower them, teach them a different way.
Yes.
Okay, so taking all of that into consideration, and then Seth saying that he, come home, turn the blood sport mode on, but he was careful and didn't let him watch the shows and the horror movies and the cutting of the heads off and stuff. But yet you do a video game and turn the blood sport on. There's no difference between those two, in my opinion. I mean, you're showing violence to a child.
Yeah, and in my world, neither would have happened.
Right.
No, it's not okay. Let's talk about what we do want the kid to actually do and reward that.
Right. Let's reward the positive and let's not enhance the negative. And in my opinion, that was enhancing the negative.
It definitely drew attention to it.
So then the second incident happens when I guess he told Sebastian to do something. And at some point, the story that we were told said Seth or Sebastian was going to fall into the door frame, and instead he fell into Seth's hand. But Sebastian went out and told his mother that his dad hit him in the head, and that was like the end of it. She filed for divorce, resulting in Seth being homeless in his car in California. I mean, so and then you get into the divorce decree. Now, have I read it personally? No. Do I know people that have read it and we've had conversations about it? Absolutely. I don't feel like I need to look at somebody's divorce from 10 years ago.
I don't either. Listen, I don't think what happened 10 years ago has anything to do with what happened to Sebastian, unless there's like some psychopathic kind of game
trail that's coming through.
Which isn't likely, right? That's a Hollywood type theme.
Right. I mean, like maybe in Hollywood.
Right. Exactly.
With a great script writer. Maybe.
Correct.
I also think that Sebastian, listen, the autism diagnosis was October of last year. So up until that point, he hadn't had an autism diagnosis. He had the chromosomal disorder with the water on the brain. Right? So I believe, and they've said that he is young at heart, young heart and mind, but physically 15. So he might be mentally between 10 and 12.
So, I mean, that wouldn't be unusual.
No.
I mean, that would be expected. But in terms of him, I'd heard somebody else bring up the fact that he didn't get his autism diagnosis until 13, 14 years old, something like that.
Again, 2023.
Okay, so the reason that happens, I mean, I've done diagnosis with someone, maybe the oldest was like 22, I think, which you think, oh my God, that is very late for there to be an autism diagnosis for the first time. That is true. However, even 12 years ago, it was generally believed, although the researchers at the time would have argued it, but it was generally believed amongst a lot of practitioners that low IQ was a part of the presentation for autism. Right. Now we know that's completely 100% wrong. That if we limit the population or the sample to just people on the autism spectrum, we know that IQ score distribution with only people with autism, it still is the bell curve. It follows exactly the general population, even if we restrict our sample to just people on the spectrum. And so what that means is, most people that that are on the spectrum, they're going to be an average IQ within 15 points of 100. Mm-hmm. There'll be about 2.2% that would be very, very intelligent, high functioning. There'll be 2.2% that will be quite low.
Low.
So the IQ doesn't really have anything to do with someone on the spectrum. And what we found were people that were clearly spectrum were not being properly diagnosed because they were smart. They were high functioning. They could learn. They, the higher the IQ goes within the spectrum, people are more verbal. And there were many doctors that, if the child was verbal and making eye contact, they would not give the diagnosis. They didn't understand what the condition actually is, how the brain's affected. And so now we know, now we have and some people will argue, well, was it a matter of discovery that we learned this about autism, or was it refining the definition? For me, it's sort of like you're putting what came first, the chicken or the egg. It doesn't really matter, but what matters now is that we have the tools. We have a very, very clear ability to educate doctors, to recognize the condition, and to find those kids or young adults so that we can identify them, give them the proper intervention so they can go on and get a college degree to go on. I mean, it's a shame to be kept away from a college IQ. You got 132 IQ, but they say, no, you can't go to college because you can't make eye contact.
Yeah, you can't make eye contact and you're going to be different. I guess I think the one that it relates back to, have you ever watched the show The Good Doctor?
Yes. Love it. Yes.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
But because he is socially awkward, that's
and
what it makes me think
if you go into like a medical school class, there's a lot of young people that are going through medical school that are clearly on the spectrum, and they do need additional support to manage some of the social communications disruption, and to maybe develop compensatory behaviors to manage the emotional demands of medical school.
Right.
But they're still just as smart as anybody else and can manage. So the question is, well, why is it that Sebastian did not get identified until he was 12, 13 years old? Generally, what we see is with high functioning autism, higher IQ, what we will see is that the child will be on level or even maybe advanced up until about 5th or 6th grade, because that is generally when the educational standards begin to demand more abstract thought.
Right.
And that is one of the things that they can really, really struggle with. Now, we can teach them abstraction, but we teach it like you would teach addition or subtraction. Same thing with social skills. We can teach it to them, but it's taught like it's like an academic skill or task.
It's like a lifestyle. It's like it's part of like the lifestyle class. It teaches you kind of like what home economics was back in the day.
It can be. The earlier that we teach, the earlier they're identified and we start teaching social skills training, emotional intelligence, things like that, the earlier we start, the more natural it looks as they age, right? It can still look very clumsy. You can I've been doing it a long time. So if I come in contact with somebody and talking to them, I can kind of tell who might be just using social skills that they learned that might not have come naturally, right?
Masking.
Kind of. Masking is a term that we use in describing behaviors of kids that are on the spectrum, maybe high functioning. Masking can be natural, where they recognize that they're different maybe than their classmates. Chris Watts comes to mind. They recognize they're different, and they may take like a friend or someone in the class and sort of mimic that person's behaviors just to hide that they are presenting in a way that might be awkward. But masking you're exactly right. I mean, that is what they're doing. They're trying to cover up they're
trying to blend in with everybody else.
But it can look mechanical and, but yeah, sure, for sure.
What are your thoughts?
we're real educated now. Teachers have done a really good job about educating everybody in the classroom.
Yes.
And so I've now reached a point now. I see these kids going to college and whatnot, and people just are open and accepting of them now in a way that I didn't see when I was a kid.
It's listen, life is, I see it differently. Even
Yes.
just looking back, I've been out of high school 35 years. I see it completely different.
So different.
30,
It's
I guess
so
it's 30
different.
years this year. It's 30 years this year. It's I was thinking back to a time in PE class that it was during freshman year, and that's a big shakeup factor for boys and girls, and girls get a little more gritchy with each other, boys start bucking up. And so our PE teachers idea to fix it was they put pool noodles on dowels, and they let us beat the hell out of each other.
Oh my God.
That would not fly. And I mean, the only
kids
thing
can't even play, they can't even play dodgeball anymore.
Nope. Dodgeball could not, dodgeball couldn't settle this. They put foam pool noodles in about a dowel about that big around.
Yeah.
And then you had the handle, and they athletic taped it. And then they paired you up, and everybody just got to beat each other.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine? They would be so fired, and we would all be in court right now.
It would be a shit show, a legal show. It would be awful. People would be clutching their pearls, and they didn't even have any pearls.
if they knew that, like, the PE teacher's way in kindergarten to teach the kindergartners how to swim was to push them off the diving board.
Oh yeah, it would be just horrified. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm a behaviorist. I think that we are who we are because we learned through experience. And I think that kids do need to learn how to be competitive. I think kids do need to learn how to experience disappointment and develop coping skills that they can be disappointed and hurt without devastation, right? I don't think you insulate people from those life experiences. I think it's a part of being alive. I think it just happens. That's how it is,
I have two girlfriends, and they are both moms to, like, a high schooler, a middle schooler, and a grade schooler. Okay. One of them, their kids get told no, and they're taught that if they want something, they have to work towards it. They have to set a goal and work towards it. Because they were always told no as a child. So they decided they were going to teach their kids that if you want something, you have to work for it. My other girlfriend, she was always told no as a kid, and she never tells her children no.
That is going to haunt her in later life.
Oh, it already does.
Oh yeah, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad.
It already does. So. I sit back and I learn. I've been watching and then watch how, the adults in my life parent their kids. And I have a couple that have a couple special needs. One has health conditions. The other one has always been special needs. They have a chromosomal disorder. I watched one give up her entire life to do nothing but fight and advocate for her child so that he is treated equally.
Yes. Yes.
And then I have seen others that just accept whatever the system is willing to give them.
Which is terrible because they're operating on the almighty dollar. The less they spend, the happier they are. So they are frequently, and my advice to anyone who is dealing with a child or grandchild that has special needs, if you feel like they could be doing more for your child, hire an advocate, an educational advocate. They know the law. And the last thing a school wants to do is deal with a lawsuit for special education. So also, hire an advocate and let them argue for you because they will not back down. They will get everything your child's entitled to.
best thing you can do is also get in with a paraprofessional. There are a lot of independent paraprofessionals that work with educational advocates, and you can tag team it, and then you've got your advocate, and then your advocate overseeing your paraprofessional overseeing your child, and you get to have a hand in all of it. And
Yeah.
that's the best thing in my opinion, that's the best that you can do. Hey, what are your thoughts about Seth pulling him out and homeschooling him?
I got a lot of thoughts about that. I don't necessarily look at it as a bad situation. I don't really know what Sebastian's situation was like at school. So I don't know what it would really depend on, like what his goal is. If the hope is that he can put him in in that special offline schooling where to bring him up to grade level, then I say it's a great solution. I've seen kids before, special needs kids, that really struggled at school because of the social limitations. They ended up doing the homeschooling online and just blossomed. So
Okay.
I don't think we can say it's bad or it's good either way.
Hold
Now,
on.
I think if your child is doing well, I think if they can manage the demands of a brick and mortar school and their grades are okay, then I would say I would not do that. I would want to keep them in the least restrictive environment possible. But for some of these kids, the school system as it exists today, it's pretty restrictive for kids that are having communication trouble. So,
Okay.
so again, I can't really answer the question because we don't really know what was actually happening with school. So that's the reason why.
Here's the other parts that here's the follow-ups to that. What do we know about Seth? Seth is a CO that works at a minimum 12 hours and can work as long as 16. He works overnights. So when you work overnights, when do you have to sleep? During the day. Yeah. Who is going to be there to oversee Sebastian with his online schooling? Because listen, if you're a CO, I've got brother-in-laws, I've got cousins, I've got buddies that are correction officers. That 12-hour shift, they need 12 to decompress. And they've got to go back, they've got to do it all again, and they sleep a minimum of 6 to 8. Plus, you've got everything that's thrown off by working overnights. Who is going to be there to help guide Sebastian through that process if he's only at his father's? And that is, those 3 factors come into play with that. How is that setting that child up for success and not failure when the only thing he wants is friends? And look at the photos of him that are shared from school. He had an IEP, an independent educational plan. That's been talked about by Katie, Chris, and Seth at different interviews.
He had an IEP for 1 year, or he had one because of the chromosomal deletion?
Because of the chromosomal deletion.
Okay, so he had a different. He didn't have an IEP. He had a 504.
Okay, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, but for medical issues.
Yeah, the independent. The specific educational plan and pathway. Now, when
they may have just given him a 504 up until he got the autism diagnosis, and then the autism diagnosis would have triggered the IEP.
Okay. Yeah. So then you also add in that he really wanted friends. That look at the photographs with the teachers and how happy he was. And then you take in that Seth said he had behavioral issues, and that's why he was putting him into online school and pulling him out of regular school.
I like I said, I can't make any comment about what's good or bad related to the online schooling or whatever, because I don't know what was happening in the school. I can talk about possibilities, and if he felt accepted by the teachers and he was involved and he was making good grades and all those things, then I would think it would be terrible.
Speculation Friday. Hey, it is
wild. It is wild speculation Friday.
I mean, listen, You taught me well, because anytime I speculate, that's the first thing I do. I throw that up. I'm like, wild speculation. This way everybody knows we're going to speculate.
There you go. Draw big attention when you're speculating, so nobody can accuse you of trying to, mislead people. So I could see circumstances. Okay, here's something I can say. So I can see circumstances where maybe it would be better for him academically to do the at-home online curriculum.
Right.
But that is not necessarily consistent with a child who's going to be by themselves for 16 hours a day.
Right.
So I, if you were going to follow that path, and the best case scenario is that somebody would be available to interact with that child during the day to help them fulfill some of their requirements, get them outside, do some science experiments, which is a big investment in time, right?
Yep.
So I'm hesitant to make a statement of opinion simply because there's an awful lot here that I don't know. However, there are some, I think.
I don't want to hold you to anything. Like, listen.
But there are a lot of people that will, right? There's a lot.
Dude, we're going to get crucified for having this conversation anyway.
Yeah,
I already know it.
In this one, go ahead.
It's just the belly of the beast. It's what happens. It is just what happens. We're, two people that have good rapport and a conversation can flow very naturally. They're gonna burn us at the stake for it. But listen, I don't care, because here's the one thing that we're not doing. We are not accusing. We are conversing. We are sharing an educational perspective. We are sharing a wide viewpoint, and we're not we're even if it's condemning, it's more constructive criticism than condemnation. I'm not meaning this to be hurtful to anybody. Yeah. I think more conversations like this need to happen instead of digging into somebody's divorce decree from 10 years ago.
No use there at all. None. To go back and look at a divorce like that and it still comes down to, it was still Katie's words. It was her experience. She just said what she wanted to say in written form. So, we all know divorces are vicious. They can be, people lose their lives during divorces. So, I think it's bad form pulling up old divorce stuff. And it's not good. And even these discussions, about school, doing online schooling, even the 12 hours of work a day, things like that, it still doesn't get us back to where the hell is Sebastian? Like, that's the overriding question. How did that child get out of that house?
That takes me back to when we were talking about Seth and him living, like, he's still terribly hung up on Katie and all of that. What if he vented at work? What do you mean? That he works around bad people.
So what do you mean by venting? That he was just bitching and complaining?
What if he was like, man, my ex-wife is giving me such a hard time. I want my boy, but they're doing this, and they want me to enforce groundings, and oh my God, this is what she did to me 10 years ago. All of that, right?
So maybe this would introduce a possibility of a bad actor coming in and doing.
What if it were somebody affiliated that had been incarcerated before? What if it were somebody that were incarcerated and they called somebody on the outside and said, hey, what if it were a case that Seth was a dick to an inmate and they were like, you know what? I want his ass.
And those things have happened. Let's be honest. Those things have happened where people get out of the pen and they're looking for payback.
Or a buddy.
I don't know, but how do you explain him getting out of the house? How did he get out?
He had to go out the front door. He had to have gone out the front door if all the other doors were locked.
But the neighbor said the camera is on the front door. They can see the front porch. He did not walk out of that door that night. And the cop said,
okay,
the cops during one of their very rare comments, the cops said to now, and I think this was about 4 weeks ago, to now, we don't see any evidence that Sebastian left the house. That's a huge statement.
They also don't see any evidence of foul play. In that conversation with Chris, I asked about, like, what all have they done? He's like, they have brought in this team, they brought in that team. There have been 18 dogs. There have been this, luminol, all the stuff, all the things. And you can't tell me that all of those dogs didn't pick up a decomp scent. We know how the human body works.
So they did use luminol, because what I read is that it was not used. The house was searched 10 times, but they did not use luminol because they had no reason to believe that there had been violence.
Okay, so maybe I'm incorrect in that, but I'm almost positive that was one of the things, because I was like, did we check the crawl spaces? I mean, did they check your ductwork? Because all these people are thinking like he's hidden in the house. Well, if that were the case, then you wouldn't be able to believe the results from the dogs.
I had a lot of people speculate that the camper was used to move.
How? It was in the St. Jude parking lot, and that's under lock and key. Look at when Mallory went down to St. Jude's, how quickly security was on her and kicked her off the property.
I don't know what that is. What do you mean when Mallory? I don't know that.
That creator Mallory, when she went down to, after all the scandal in the drama community about St. Jude's and the money that was supposedly, it's a whole nother thing. We're not going to get lost in the weeds on that. But we had a YouTuber that went down to St. Jude's to film on the campus, and it's a closed campus.
Absolutely.
It's open to the public.
Absolutely.
Plus the construction site is fenced off so nobody can get into it. So, and if he were staying on site, on top of that, they would have had his cell records. There would have been towers, all of that. How would that?
I think beyond a shadow of a doubt, I think Christopher, they know exactly where he was, what time he got to work. I think that's locked down just because he was working with St. Jude. Yeah.
Well, on top of that, I mean, cell records, he didn't have to take polygraph. He took a polygraph and passed. Katie passed her polygraph. Seth's first polygraph was inconclusive because he fell asleep. And then he took a second polygraph, and apparently he's passed that.
It is one of the craziest missing stories that we've heard in years.
It lines right up with Summer Wells. The dogs tracked to a location and then they didn't.
I see. I'm going to tell you, for me, Summer Wells, I don't even feel as perplexed by Summer Wells' case as Sebastian. The reason is because I think there's enough suspicion where they were at the horse pond and Hunter looks up and says that he watches her and she looks like she goes under the water for a while. And then he runs and gets her and picks her up out of the water. I think we got the story right there. I think he thought he was smoothing it over, taking what was fact and then, smoothing over into a lie of, oh, but she was fine. She went ahead and I think most of us look at the milk jugs and we're like, that baby is not fine. Like you can tell.
Okay, so then if that were the case, then why did the dogs track her scent down the dog trail?
Because that's her home. That's where she plays. And so the dogs, especially dogs, if they had bloodhound or beagle in them, those dogs' ability for discrimination, for picking up. I mean, there's some bloodhounds that found carcasses of dead Civil War soldiers, hundreds of years old, and yet they were able. No,
it's me. I'm just gonna.
That's okay.
I don't want to smoke on camera, so
no, you're fine. So I've got a great deal of respect specifically for bloodhounds. I'd like to own one myself, but I've got a great deal of respect for dogs. Christopher Proudfoot clearly said that they're not good. Only 20% of the time are they right. He was so completely wrong. Like he's not even in the ballpark. The cane course, I'm not even going into the dogs, but
I understand.
Dogs are they're equally as impressive. Some breeds of dogs are equally as impressive as even a dolphin in terms of their
Yes, ma'am.
ability to be trained and taught. And I've got a Noah's Ark around my house, and all my animals do tricks. I got a cat that will sit on command. I mean, I love to teach. Like I said, I'm a behavioral psychologist. And everybody has to learn tricks. I just can't teach my husband to do tricks. I've given up on that. He's pretty well focused on, he does what he wants. So
that's his trick. He does what he wants.
That's right. His trick is to be fully 100%, Bill, which is good because he's a great guy. But all my animals do fun. I got a little Pomeranian. I can say her name no matter how far away she is. She'll look over at me and I can shoot her with my finger gun and she'll fall over and lay there. But one eye will be open. One eye will be open and she's watching me because she's waiting for me to say, okay, come on, get your treat.
Get your treat.
Yeah. So I got another dog that when you sing bop, 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 bop to the top, slip and slide and ride that rhythm, she'll just start dancing. So she does this weird little hop, pushing her feet back behind her, and she'll do that through the whole song because she knows I'll, give her a treat.
No, she's gonna get a treat.
Yeah. So I have a great deal. Yeah, I have a great deal. Oh, one of my cats, at the end of the day, I tell my dogs to go home. And so they all go get in their individual crates, right? And the funny thing is, because my big dog with the great big crate, my cat sits on top of that while we're having dog school. And when Drover runs to go get in his cage, the cat will reach out and shut the door behind him. So I did not teach her that, but she learned to do it. So it's pretty funny.
That's wild.
It's pretty funny. So, so he's wrong about the dogs. The dogs are some of these breeds, a beagle or bloodhound, their ability for scent discrimination is their ability for scent is as rich and varied as our ability for sight.
Yes.
So you can't really use a bloodhound as a cadaver dog because they can't tolerate the smell of decay. They will circle, but their circle may have like a 5 mile, diameter. So, there's a lot of different types of tracking dogs. There's a lot of different kinds of working dogs. Some of them are discriminating an individual person's scent. Others are just simply looking for areas where there's been extreme emotional reactivity, the pheromones that are left if somebody's been assaulted or abducted. Our bodies leave behind certain scent gland, scent hormones.
Yes, and it's the fear hormone.
And the dogs can find that, which I wonder about the retaining pond. Is that dog picking up on some fear hormone?
Okay.
So, and rather than actually tracking Sebastian from his house to the pond, I think there's a disconnect there.
I can talk about that a little bit because I know that that I do this in other parts of my life. And one of the other sides of it, I work with a retired Wyoming Highway Patrol officer.
That's cool.
Has we have a business, right? And we have drones and dogs.
That's so cool.
We have a couple of drones.
I want to come up and see you one time when I'm in Colorado.
You come right.
Yeah, because it's not very far. Maybe 6 hours, maybe
6 to 8 hours, depending on traffic.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. You've got a lot of really cool places, like the pond with the koi fish.
I'm only 80 miles. I'm about 100 miles from Yellowstone.
Oh, I would love that. Oh,
love it. I'm getting ready. I've got a friend from YouTube that'll be out here next month, and we've got a whole little adventure. I've been planning little day trips, so it'll be really cool for July. Okay, so one of the things the dogs will do, so we have a cadaver dog, we have a live scent dog. and then we have one that's tracking. So we have 3 different. And with the cadaver dog, and we run them, they each get ran over the same. And if like the live scent picks up on something and then suddenly stops, then they'll bring the cadaver in, and then the cadaver runs.
Yes.
My job is to flank. I film and I flank. I stay way back and I follow.
Yes.
I'm far back, and I can show you the films. I can show you videos of what
I would love to see that. I love any kind of. I'm a weirdo that watches dogs working cattle, and I'm a strange person.
Oh God, I love that. That's all we have out here. I mean, like, people will freak when they drive through the area here because all the dogs are riding in the beds of trucks, and they're on a flat bed, and they're just,
they're working. They're out there waiting for the next man. That's right.
We've also had them where they grab the Anatolian sheepdogs or the Burmese mountain dogs, and they try to load them up in their car because they think that they're out there unattended, and they're like,
oh my God. Yeah, no.
It's wild.
That actually, so I have a 100-pound Australian Shepherd who came off of a working cattle ranch in Central Texas. And they often use Australian shepherds for sheep because they don't tend to bark.
Right.
And they don't make the sheep nervous. Right. So yeah, the dogs you would use for cattle, dramatically different than for the sheep. And to watch them work is just fascinating. You'll develop an all new appreciation for animal intelligence and emotion just watching a working dog. It's pretty impressive.
They can go out and they can work an entire herd of sheep. They can work 250 sheep just by being whistled at from their owner from the fence.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Oh, Cinnamon, exciting. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Let me know. You get here, we'll throw you a
welcome. Wow. See, now I'm going to have to come to Wyoming. Everybody, all the fun people will be there.
Okay, so we participated in the search for Danielle Messick up on the up in the Bighorns, and we had 9 handlers from 9 different states, 9 different areas, and we had 14 dogs. And what they did was they broke it up into a grid quadrant, and each dog did a different thing. And each dog went through the whole grid. And if they found anything, then each dog ran where they went. So if you take that back to like Summer Wells's case, if the dog tracked her down, okay, so when the dogs are searching for scent, so let's use the color blue, right? We'll use the color blue. The brightest blue is the newest scent. The darkest blue is the oldest scent.
Yes.
Okay. So if you go to where Summer Wells was tracked, the most recent of her scent went down that dog track, right to the road, right? And what is it? 3 years ago today? It's the 14th. It'll be tomorrow. It's 3 years tomorrow. Went down the dog path to the road. What are we lacking at the road? Fear hormone.
Which is telling.
Which means that he knew somebody.
Yeah, it's telling.
So the only person in the thing that can't lie is the dog.
True. 100%.
The handler can not read the dog, or the handler can force the dog. However, the dog can't lie. The dog is going off of its nose. The nose knows, right? So that, to me, where was the one place Summer was comfortable? Church.
Yeah. Oh, so you think maybe it was someone from church, someone she knew.
So let's, and again, wild speculation Friday. This is one of the only avenues that, in my opinion, has never been looked at in the 3 years.
It should have been. There's a couple of people that are uncomfortable.
Very seriously. So think about this. A lot of church-going people are also professional people too, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What say somebody that attended that church might have worked in Department of Human Services? Could they have been alerted? If all these YouTubers want to do something good for summer, guess what? Right here in my state, the Seventh-day Adventist Church has now changed their summer camporee event from Oshkosh, Wisconsin to now at the Camplex in Gillette, Wyoming. If you really want to get the word out about summer wells, set up blip boards around Gillette, in the Black Hills, Mount Rushmore, all over that northeast corner of Wyoming, because that's where you're going to have over 10,000 Seventh-day Adventist people.
Yeah.
Coming.
So your thoughts are perhaps Summer was taken by someone who was like rescuing her or saving her. Yeah, but saving her from the environment she was living in.
Yep.
I mean, it's not a bad thought. There is like an underground railroad system for parents that take off with a kid, right? They say, I don't want my ex-husband or ex-wife to have them because there's sexual abuse or beatings or whatever. And there are people that will take those kids
them
and
away.
hide them. Yeah.
And listen, explore that one rather than thinking that Dawn and Candace are some criminal masterminds.
Mastermind is not applicable. Criminal or not, I think something like that would be.
If we take that same logic and apply that in Sebastian's case, now we know that 3 or 4, I don't remember which one, if it was 3 or 4 dogs tracked him to the retaining pond, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So follow along with this theory.
But there was some confusion. Maybe you can clear this up. There was some confusion that I think Max was the first dog that Max hit on the retaining pond, but he did not have Sebastian's scent. That when he hit down there, he had not yet met with Katie or Chris or whoever.
And if that's the case, then
he's probably reacting to fear hormone.
Well, then that's exactly what it is. It's reacting to a fear hormone. And how do you even know it's Sebastian's fear hormone? We don't. We know that the dog picked up a fear hormone. We don't know if it's ours. And listen, I'm going to be very blunt, and Julia might be okay on paper, but I fully feel that she is, in my opinion, she is a LARPer. My canine guy, really? I sent my canine guy her shit. He listened to her for 2 minutes and said she's full of shit. Furthermore, if she were so good at what she did, then why is all the audio covered up and overlaid with music on all of her shorts showing her dog working? Because that's might be her dog, but she's being instructed on how to work that dog. All those dogs are retired, so she's done with those dogs exactly what you've done with yours and taught them to do tricks. She works those dogs. If you look into her, she is an actress. She's got an IMDb. She
was working with the National Guard.
Well, she might be,
but active military now.
She might be military. Baby, if they find out she's doing what she's doing, she's going to be in a hell of a lot of problems.
Why?
Bullshit. If you're active military, there's OPSEC, and you're not allowed to do what we're doing right here. That is against their rules. She could be looking at an Article 16. She is not.
Really?
That is not okay for what she says she's doing.
That is a world that I don't know is the military.
Oh, I went down that path because I started hearing some things and I was not okay with what I heard. I called my dog. I'm like, hey, listen to this. He's like, bullshit.
Yeah, she clearly knows dogs.
Well, when you're being oversought by someone, I could do what she's doing if I got somebody standing. If my partner's standing behind me, I could do exactly what she's doing because he's instructing me
she may be
do with that dog.
Yeah, maybe she is in a training scenario, but but I can't comment on that because I don't know. I like her. I thought she was knowledgeable. I thought, it was a good conversation with her. But I don't know. I don't know anything about whether she's breaking any military rules or anything. I wouldn't know that at all. I don't know.
Well, when I dated my soldier, while he was deployed, active, whatever, there were strict social media policies. Strict social media policies. What you can do, what you can't do. There are also the way that she, some of the things that she says. No, it doesn't line up. Listen, she can be and do whatever she said she wants to do, but if you type her name in YouTube, the third thing that comes up is the Nightmare on Elm Street cosplay that she played a major role in and is credited. She has an IMDb half as long as my arm. At that point, you can be good on paper, but you can be a fucking shit show in real life. Not even kidding you. You can be a hot mess. And you're going to tell me that somebody that's been to war or could have the potential to be to war is going to be so emotionally distraught. They're going to be crying over what naysayers on the interwebs say. And we're crying because they
believe that.
You're crying.
I wouldn't think someone who'd been, unless it was like massive PTSD, I wouldn't think that somebody talking ugly about them on YouTube would make them cry.
Hot mess, a bawling away about it.
I thought it was that Steph girl.
No, Julia too.
I heard Steph crying. I don't remember ever hearing Julia.
Oh no, I dug right into her. Listen, dug right into Julia. We knew that when they did a reverse image search, and found those dogs on Chewy, that was all over for the liquor cabinet lady of dogs.
But that was Steph.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Julia
was.
And if
you know who I think Steph is?
Right at the same time.
You know who I think Steph is? I think Steph is that Kim, WSU Kim. I think it's the same damn woman.
It's not the same woman. It
looks
not,
like her.
It looks similar, but we've actually seen that Steph lady. She came up on Queens and she had her camera on in the background. And then Queen had the overlay up, so Queen actually got to see her. And then we went down.
What does she look like? She looks Hispanic.
Kind of
big teeth.
Maybe.
I think it's WSU Kim. Sounds like her, looks like her. I saw a picture on
maybe.
Was it Deets? I don't
know.
remember.
Now you're going to cause me to go down another rabbit hole, which is cool.
Do it. You're going to be so shocked. I'll send you. I got a video where WS Kim playing a different role was actually on Mommy Ramblings on camera.
Oh my God. That would make so much more sense because somebody
Same exact voice.
It probably is. I mean, you're really good at picking up dialect, the way people talk, accents. Like I have an ear for that too. I can immediately. Oh, voices for me are I don't know. I that was how I picked up on the whole Tony Peen slip, that it was in a bathroom, because I put my earbuds in, and when you close your eyes and listen, you hear a stall door, you hear a zipper, you hear the outside bathroom door open, and you can hear
green screen fail. He was in the bathroom.
Honey, that's his penis.
No, I know. I saw it, but you're saying that you hear the ambient noises of a bathroom?
And
really?
Originally he said he was in a hotel lobby, right? He originally said he was in a hotel lobby. Well, he got up to go take a piss, because you hear him go into the bathroom. You hear a stall door, you hear another toilet flush, you hear somebody, then you can hear, like, when you're in a bathroom and somebody opens the main door to the bathroom, and then you hear all the noise out. You can hear all of that. If on the cow lady Daisy, she was streaming it live too from TikTok, and she was typing actively in the chat, and her copy is a lot clearer than the original that we saw, which was from Lady K. Lady K was in here earlier. So we originally found it through, like, I think Dolly found it, and then somebody else made a video, and then like at some point I got made aware of it, and then somebody emailed me and said, "Hey, Daisy had it. She saw it happen live. Check that." And when I put my earbuds in and listen, and you close your eyes and you just listen to the sounds, you can hear it when he moves the phone away from, and you like hear him like holding the phone like maybe up to his face or something, and then you hear him doing the guy thing, and then it gets set down. It's wild.
So you think he set the phone down like where they hold the toilet paper?
Yes. Because watch, Jules. Hold on, watch this.
Oh, God.
So if I were to go like this and do
That's crazy.
virtual background, right? Okay.
It would be so wild, Cinnamon. So crazy.
Okay,
Hey,
watch.
Funky, just hunky. Good to see you. Hey, Kate.
Do you see the difference in me?
Of course. Yeah.
So if you go back and you watch what that was, whatever it was set up close.
Yeah.
And he was farther away. So that means that
y'all are
like,
some good detectives. That's all.
when you stand
I
up,
gotta say. Yeah.
I mean, like, and listen, there is no way that was a thumb, because I'm sorry, a thumb does not have like.
He said it was his thumb.
Well, that's what everybody tried to come out and say. I mean, he said
Oh,
it was.
no. That is a member. Yeah.
Dude, he totally, like, he said it was overlaid and somebody photoshopped it.
That's so dumb. That's so dumb, because you can see the comments that are being made. You can't overlay and not block out the comments.
How about we just say, "Oops, I screwed up."
That is really what should happen. He should have just said, I'm a bonehead. That's all he had to say. Just oops, it happened. And yeah, but when he doubles down and starts accusing any number of YouTube people, calls the FBI.
Does he realize that he just started his own binder on his own member?
Yes.
Does he realize that he could end up on a registry somewhere for being
to pull it out on TikTok? That's right. So I just thought, this is not a smart person. This is not a smart person. And he's not a very confident person, right? Because a confident person would have just said, "Oh, well, deal with it. It happened."
He said, how about that he's running with somebody who says they're a former defense attorney, but yet that defense Delta person that's always on the panels with him.
Yeah.
Delta's part of his team, and he's out here doxing people left, right, and center. So a defense attorney or DA or whatever, somebody that is an attorney, damn well would know that that's malicious intent, and you just opened yourself.
That's right.
For legal ramifications.
Absolutely. It's crazy. And I'm going to say this because it's wild speculation Friday. Yeah, there you go. I'm going to say this, okay? And I'm telling you, I'm haunted by this, okay? I'm not proud that this is in my brain, okay? I'm haunted. He goes up to, we know for sure that he was up around Moscow, Idaho, doing the whole Idaho 4 thing. Yes. Like, we know that, right? So he's already showing interest in this whole missing person or murder, at least 9, 10 a year before Sebastian goes missing, or before Harris goes missing. Are you going to tell me that this creep, we now know him to be a creep. We didn't know him in the beginning to be a creep, but now we do know that he is one. He goes all the way up to Idaho 4, skulking around like some kind of bottom feeder. And then magically he's got a coworker whose teenage son, college son, just goes poof into thin air, just gone. And he says, no, let me help your family. I want to be here and help you. Like, he's just Johnny on the spot, really? So, okay, so I can accept that. That's not too bad, but here's where my brain goes off the rails, okay? Now you've got a missing 15-year-old boy whose stepdad happens to be in exactly the same field as creepy Tony is.
Okay, well,
now we've passed.
Tony's a crane salesman. Chris is a crane operator.
But he has that history of operating.
Oh my God! I just am picking up what you put down. Did you see it?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now you get to stay away haunted at night. Not just me. I'm not alone anymore. Is that the most horrifying thought? I can't. My brain it just popped in my head in the middle of the night, and I was like, oh, like, did he really? Did he really set that?
Well, you know who connected? You know who connected Tony and Seth?
I don't know.
Pascal on May 4th.
I did hear like people saying that, but I didn't watch
the message got put out. I've seen it. We've seen it where Pascal said, yes, I connected Tony Mathis and Seth Rogers. Because at that time, Seth was going on Pascal's on a regular basis.
But what would make him think that Tony Mathis was a PR guru?
Okay. Number one, the way Tony presented it, he said he was a project manager for Caleb Harris's father, which that is correct. But the way he made it sound.
But now they're saying that Tony was Caleb's dad's boss. So who was really the boss?
No. Randy is Tony's boss. Tony is a crane salesman. Randy is like over.
And Tony. Did Randy actually fire Tony? Is that true?
That's what JLR has stated. Okay. Again, this is all wild speculation Friday. So we're going with all the rumor, the gossip, the innuendo, and that's what's going around on the streets, right? JLR straight up said, he brought it out yesterday. I sat there like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know for a fact he has a Facebook group with thousands of people in it. And
Tony
JLR.
Oh, yeah. JLR does, yeah.
And then from there, it turns out there's 2 Facebook groups. There's an anti-Tony for Caleb Harris. There's an anti-Tony and there's a pro-Tony.
That's got to be a little tiny group.
I don't know. Membership is short.
Soft interest.
Oh, he did a hard dox on his own member to the FBI, yo.
Here's a picture of what it looks like. They did this to me. So stupid.
But now that you say that, okay. So dude self-inserts himself, and I didn't realize he was in the Idaho 4 stuff.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh, boy. Y'all tell the others that. Let them start digging.
Picture here first. Right, in video. Yeah, he was there.
So Tony got involved in the Idaho 4. And then from there, after nosing around and seeing all of that, but the only thing that's happened, here's what I can also put together. Hey, Jeannie. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's what else I can put together. I know of 2 GoFundMes that happened, the Puentes family and help Steve get his life back. Those 2 GoFundMes.
Steve Goncalves?
Huh?
Steve Goncalves?
No. Another coworker for Craneworks.
How did Steve lose his life?
No. He's had some mobility issues, and he's got 4 stairs in his house that keep him from being able to go up them and out to a patio. So he needs to have apparently $60,000 for a remodel of his home. Jules, grab your phone, type in GoFundMe, and type in Tony Mathis.
No, because here's the truth. If the man is disabled, then the insurance, Social Security will come in and build him some new stairs or ramp. A medical necessity. That's crazy. And 60,000 really for a ramp?
All he needs is a ramp up those stairs. He doesn't need a whole house remodel.
$60,000, you could just like, depending on if it's a small house or not, even just gut the downstairs and put all new, flooring, and that's crazy. $60,000 is a buttload of money.
Well, but although I'm gonna be honest, the price of lumber now, it's wild. So apparently you can search in GoFundMe. Here's what I was told. You can search in GoFundMe by the person who sets it up. So we need to search Tony Mathis in GoFundMe to see how many he's set up. But what we did have last night that Queen had shown and we were discussing on her channel, so now you're telling me that prior to those 2 GoFundMes that we found, and one was just set up in May of this year, and the other one was like last year before last. So first it was
Which would have been around. That would have been around the whole GoFundMe. I mean the
Idaho 4
thing.
And then there's these 2 GoFundMe things, and then there's Caleb Harris, and then a YouTuber connects.
It's true.
Oh my God, Cinnamon Hot.
It's true. So today, Facebook is blowing up in the Michaela young girl, barely legal. By the way, Seth gave her $12,000.
I don't want to know. I don't want to. Oh my God, I don't want to know. I don't want to know about this. Damn it.
So he gave her. Well, I can't ask because.
No, ask.
Is Michaela the girl that T-Rev is with?
Yes.
Why would they give her $12,000?
Listen,
the young girl.
That looks sketch as hell, Jules.
It looks bad. I mean, I'm not gonna. Why would he give her 12? People donated money to him because he wasn't working and he was looking for a son. Why would he give it to Michaela?
That doesn't make any sense. But here's my question.
That's a lot of money to just give someone what? Just why would you do that?
$12,000? What?
And what about T-Rev? What does he think? That's crazy. This is the sketchiest group of people. Okay, Tony Mathis. Let me look up on my. Are you still here?
Oh my God, I totally was muted.
Okay.
So let me go back and repeat what I just said. Because this is just my line of thinking going out from what I know. Damn it, now the wind came up. Okay. So is that where the GoFundMe went? Hang on.
I don't know.
Some days traffic just really irritates me and I have no control over it. It's been like a lesson in patience and acceptance. Okay. So is that where the GoFundMe money went? Number one. Number two, Seth. That's crazy.
It is crazy. So y'all looked at this Esteban Puentes. What was that fundraiser for?
I think they had a house fire.
So is this one of his family members or?
No, it's a person that works with him at Crane Works. Read the description on it. It says, "Hello, Crane Works family. Can we pull together and..."
Yeah, please consider donating. Home was partially destroyed by storms.
Oh, storms.
He's currently staying in a hotel.
And
Dig
look
deep.
at the date on that, Jules. That was just after Sebastian went missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is so sketchy.
So originally when all this shit came out with T-Rev, I remember T-Rev, or maybe it was Trevor Lee, one of them said about a female being there at night. And then I think back to the one interview when Seth was live with Pascal, and we heard a female voice, and he's like, yes, I'm live. No, I won't show you in your pajamas.
I just thought maybe it was his mom that he was talking about, but
I'm
now
you to think back and listen. If they're, I mean, giving, why would you give somebody $12,000?
That's an enormous amount of money. I don't know. Especially someone you supposedly just met after your son went missing.
And then you invite another YouTuber down. Prior to that, you have a conversation about a firearm. And you were going to buy it for yourself because you were saving up money, but you haven't worked in how long because you've been on short-term disability. You're waiting to get an MRI. You've actually never searched anywhere. You drive around searching parking lots and scoping out areas to search.
He did search I mean, there was video of him with his friends from the the jail that were searching with him. Now, I don't know about now, but in the beginning, before Tony Mathis joined the group, he was out there, doing it.
Maybe once, but those jail people never came back after that one first time. And number two, then there was the whole thing with the shoulder. And, his shoulder was all taped up. But the ironic part was so there were multiple people that were there. And it was ironic that Cluminati was there and he hadn't been introduced. They hadn't actually been introduced yet. She was just kind of standing off to the side. And if you actually watch the video from that day, and I think it was JLR that got the video, but we did review it over on Queens again. It's ironic because if you listen to Clu's side of it, which are the details that you didn't know prior to seeing the video, well, apparently he said, hey, JLR, are you live? You're going to want to get this. And then that's when he has the godmother take all the kinesio tape off the shoulder. And he's got a firearm in his butt crack. Because when he turns around, if you look at the video, he's got a firearm in his butt crack. But before she even does anything with the tape, he jerks and he flips around and he twists. And if the shoulder's really as bad as it is, listen, I've had one rotator cuff done, right? I've got, this one has,
it's horribly painful.
It is. And this one has an 8mm tear in it. I cannot get it any higher than this. I have to rotate my arm. I have to lift. And then once I'm to there, I can get it up and I can extend it. But if I let go of this, my arm falls. I've got nothing. I cannot get it any higher than that. If you have a torn rotator cuff, you can't get it. You can barely get your elbow to 45 degrees.
Yeah.
Because it is, I have got, it's torn at my bulkhead. Now listen, you're not going to be able to do what he fucking did. It's impossible. I just showed it to you.
Yeah.
And I have an 8mm tear through 2 muscle groups.
So one of the people, I don't know, that is so weird.
Oh yeah. And they've been doxing Queen Bee left, right, and center over on
TikTok.
Yep.
Why?
Because they are assholes. Tony and his team.
but so she's been talking about this whole case and now they're mad. They don't like what she's saying. Is that why they're doxing her or was there more crap?
Listen, they've gotten mad because we called out the peen.
Oh, everybody He's calling it out. You're talking about the green screen oops, right?
Yeah.
Well, the dachshund thing, you know me, that is absolutely a no-go line. You should not be doxing anyone ever.
Well, if Delta's the fucking freaking defense attorney that they say he was, I mean, a legal person. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I believe they're all LARPers. And in the end, what is getting lost in this? This 15-year-old boy that is
Sebastian.
missing.
Yeah, 100%. And so it doesn't matter. I don't care about this Michaela chick. Now, let me preface this: $12,000 to somebody for what? That is upsetting. Like, what do you have to do to get $12,000? Right? Like, what kind of work? I don't get paid $12,000 for my work. So what are you doing for $12,000? Especially when you're mad because she ran off with another guy.
I got questions. I'm sorry.
That's really strange.
Is this world's oldest profession?
I don't even know that anybody would pay that for the world's oldest profession, right? I mean, I don't know what you would do for $12,000. Strange, very strange. Who supposedly knows about this? Like, how do y'all know that this happened? What YouTube, or not YouTube, but Facebook group was this in? Like, where are y'all getting this information from?
That one we're gonna have to ask Cinnamon Hot Hot, because they're the ones that came in with the tea.
Hey, I trust Cinnamon Hot Hot with my life.
I do too.
With my life.
Yes. I do too. Cinnamon has always had my back.
Yes. Honest, nice person. Yeah.
Cinnamon and I we're both Wyoming people. There's something about the camaraderie that comes from the cowboy state. And Cinnamon has always had my back from the very beginning of the dangerous times in the MGL days. Cinnamon always had my back. So
Saul says Sebastian's family doesn't understand the YouTube community. I've been here for 4 or 5 years and I don't understand the YouTube community.
Shit, the rules change every day. And if you miss a week, you miss a year.
It's horrible. It's really, and some of the crazies, I'd
have my phone number changed because somebody put it in a chat. And do you know that now it's gotten back in rotation and there are people from YouTube that still call that person thinking they're going to get me?
Crazy. Yeah. YouTube's definitely different. It attracts. I think part of the reason that we have so much chaos here is, I think the platform itself is attractive to people with narcissistic personality disorder.
Oh, so honey, I think that it like, this is the one place, this is like real life LARPing. You can be anything you want to be. You can say anything, it's really the real wild, wild west. But the Cash Gernon Family Foundation, if you've been following any of that, they have worked very hard and they've been in Washington, and the Internet Declaration and all the proclamations are starting to be put in place. So
things are going to be changing.
Yes. But
that was a horrifying case, wasn't it? Absolutely horrifying. If I'd have had a little one, that baby would have been sleeping in the bed with me every night. I would not have been able.
Then you got to worry about, are you going to roll over on it? I would have had one of them apparatuses that, has the little arm that it's like it attaches onto the side of the bed. Makes like a sidecar for your bed, right?
Yes.
That's what I'd have to, but I'd have to be down at the foot of the bed because I'd probably roll over on it if it were up at the head of the bed. Because I'm one of those that I'm all over my bed. I take up every square inch.
It's just terrifying to think about somebody walking in your house and taking a baby. Just so god awful. That was one of the cases that I was really traumatized. I was really traumatized by that one, and I was really traumatized by the Summer Wells thing. That really just got me.
You see in the New York Post, Leilani Simon is mad because of how she hurt the food in prison.
Oh, bless her heart.
I know,
Bless
right?
her little heart. That is a walking psychopath right there. Crazy lady. Yeah, that was terrible. What'd you think about them playing the recordings of the crying baby through the middle of the night? Yeah, me too. I said, this is it. It's the new low. YouTube creators will never recover from this. It's like
I
warfare.
well, we had
Horrible.
that. We had a block party. You know, they threw an entire block party on Halloween. Dolly
Yep.
said that he saw the ghost of Quentin Simon. Dolly wore the turtle mask and held a sign, Leilani, will you marry me?
Horrible.
Oh, he also put a drone up over Chris and Katie's house.
I heard that somewhere, but I didn't see any footage or anything. But somebody said there was a drone over
That
their
was
house.
Dolly did it, and he was threatening to go back and do it again.
For what? Was he trying to see something, or he was just being a general nuisance?
Well, he thought Sebastian might be in the backyard.
And the cops overlooked it?
Apparently.
Yeah. Well.
You know, Scooby-Doo and the gang over here, you know. Here's my question. And I try to ask this every time. Y'all want to tell me that there's such a big conspiracy and that the cops are corrupt and that you're screaming that, or you're screaming for the justice process, but then you're saying the cops are corrupt. Don't the cops and the justice process work hand in hand, because the cops find the evidence that the justice process uses to get to the verdict?
Yeah, but there's layers of protection through each layer of law enforcement, right? Going up to a prosecutor being the highest of the levels. I think, knowing what I know about small town America, I think it's entirely possible. I don't know if it's Chris who has the friendship, or maybe it's Katie because she installs the security systems. But I wonder if maybe it's the Bauer Sox, maybe somebody in, maybe it's his sister or something. But my thought is,
honey, those YouTubers would have dug that out by now. They
well,
have
and
a
I
whole
do
family tree.
I do tell myself that. I do say,
no, I'm telling you, they have a whole family tree. I've seen it.
They have investigated.
Oh my God. Jules, they've gone into Chris's divorce paperwork. They've gone into Katie and Seth's divorce. They outed everything that is Seth. And here's the one thing about all the leaks. You know where they've all come from? Seth. Seth outed Sebastian's essay. Seth outed Katie's
That's true.
past. Seth outed the Nina stuff. Seth connected Nina and Trevor Lee. Seth outed Chris's.
Well, now, why are you saying that Seth talked about Katie's family past? I thought that was it Heather and Chloe, maybe?
Right. Who told her? Heather? Seth.
I mean, that they were working with Seth at the time.
Yes.
So,
who would have? I mean, that doesn't take rocket science to reasonably deduce.
But you know what I couldn't figure out? Figure out why on web sleuths. By the way, I think Christopher Proudfoot was wrong to call them web sluts. I think that was wrong.
Listen, hothead, I've done the same, and I get it. Yes, that was the wrong thing to say.
Because I do think Trisha was very respectful to him.
Trisha was very biased.
Well, maybe she was biased. Maybe she asked the hard questions, but Christopher Proudfoot was inviting the hard questions. So, but I do think that she was very low key and respectful. And yes, she asked the questions that everybody at the time was asking. Like, she put it out there. She said, let's get some answers here and try to stop all this, wild speculation writing. So
I also give Trisha a lot of grace, because that's the first interview that she's done since Heels passed. And we all know that Heels was.
They were very good friends. Yes.
30 plus years of friendship.
That's right. So he could have been a little more discriminating, but he still, But when Heather, well, I don't remember if it was Heather or Chloe, whichever one of them came out and said, we found this information, we decided it wasn't important for in
But that was
terms
a
of,
dog whistle. If you
well,
don't
I
think
know
it's not
it's been
important,
treated, yeah, it's been treated as a dog whistle since then. But what I saw was, Christopher showed interest. He said, with me or Katie? And then he said, she said, Katie. He said, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But he was not emotional. He did not get, I mean, you didn't even see a micro expression because I went back and looked. And he was satisfied once he got an answer. But then we heard the phone call that happened hours later, and he was fit to be tied. I mean, he was gunning for bear. So I thought that was strange to me. I don't know what that means. I'm not saying that I have an idea, but I do think that it's incredibly notable that in the interview, he didn't care about this being about Katie. But then now, fast forward about 4 hours, and now he's livid. What happened? Like, what changed his reaction to that particular information?
no,
I just,
I believe it. I believe you have that exactly backwards. That call happened. Oh, maybe not.
no, it happened after Web Sleuths ended that night.
That's
The
right.
night that Gray Hughes was on there, and
You're right. You're right. You're
yeah,
right.
it happened a couple of hours after. So my question would be, what happened in the interim that suddenly then triggered him, and he was
Probably
so
people
angry?
started digging into it, and somebody reached out to him and said, "Hey, is this the case?" Because that would be a dog whistle to make people then turn around and go digging into. Well, then what was this stuff?
But
I like
people,
what Mark said right there. Mark, that's a great point, and I didn't think about that.
but the truth is that, I mean, I had seen that. I even read like the appeal documents. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people had seen that before Web Sleuths. It wasn't newly emerging. I mean,
Well,
maybe
maybe
Christopher
somebody.
and Katie didn't know that people had the
Yeah,
information.
and that's it. And
Yeah.
then what the other thing that we learned was that Chris had some sort of a, like what you touched on it when you said, did about me or Katie? And she said Katie, and he's like, oh yeah. But there was something, there's an indiscretion that happened with Chris when he was like 18 that has since come out again. Again, where did it all come out from? Who is the source of all of this? The father. And now this father, we're learning. Thank you, Daisy. That's very kind of you. And I'll be honest, Jules, I'm enjoying myself and I appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. Having
That was a
good
great
Friday
insight.
night.
Thank you.
It's a good Friday night.
Just a great invite. I like a spur of the moment. Hey, you want to come up?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll come hang out and talk. This is great. Again, why would the father of a missing child do something like that? Say something like that?
He just seems so bitter. He just seems so, he's just really, really angry.
Do you think he's on the spectrum?
Who, Seth?
Yes.
Oh, I'm not gonna.
Oh, I'm sorry, you can't answer that. I'm so sorry. I didn't even think about.
That's
I didn't
okay.
even think about the crossing professional boundaries. I'm sorry, Jules. Sorry,
That's
I
okay.
didn't mean to put you in that position.
That's okay.
Let's talk about what Mark Klein said about the safety meetings. And okay, so okay. So that's most likely accurate. I know that Mark.
That's it right
I've known
there.
Mark for a long time around these streets.
Yeah.
He's very factually accurate in when he makes statements. Okay, so that being said, law enforcement still hasn't had a question with him. You know, like they don't have a question with where he was. Everything obviously checked out. You know,
but nobody's been cleared.
Nobody's been cleared. Everybody's a suspect.
Yeah.
But you know who didn't get the electronics back yet? Seth.
I don't know. I would find it hard to believe that Katie and Chris got their phones back.
They got theirs back, and they said, "Congratulations, you run a tight ship. Good job." Chris
That's
and
a
Katie have
weird,
gotten. Chris and
that's a
Katie have
weird
gotten.
thing to say. What does that mean?
I don't know. Maybe because it's locked down and he didn't have access. But then you find out from Seth that he had a Gmail account, and he was going to put Mortal Kombat on his mobile phone, or Call of Duty, or whatever it is, on his mobile device.
Yeah, but you're describing something that parents do all over the United States of America. It doesn't suggest somebody abducting your child. It's a
Other
common
than
thing. I mean, unfortunately, parents have not been very responsible paying attention to the access to internet.
I go back to, if he had access to those kind of games, what goes hand in hand with those games? Chat rooms.
Right, of course. Yeah, no, you're talking. I'm a gamer. I play Oculus. The lots
Mhm.
of in-game comms, lots of it. So I get it. And there's a lot of creepy pedophile types on those games as well. You see them gravitate towards the kids, as you can tell by their voices that they're younger.
And in this day and age, you can have a voice changer. You can use an AI voice. There's so
I
many
had
ways.
one night, I had this one kid because he was always playing like I play a game that's like a team
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
And so this one kid is always joining with our group. And you could tell maybe the kid's maybe 10, 11 years old, prepubescent, no hormones yet, changing the voice and whatnot. And one night we had somebody come in who was being incredibly unprofessional. And so I told the little kid, I said, you need to go get your mom or dad and give them the headset. And he was like, no, why? I said, just go and get your parent and have them get in the game and I'll tell them why. And so eventually he did. And the dad came and I told him, I said, this person is really being sexually suggestive to your child. And here's who to call. And here's the phone number to make the report. So, it is happening in games. There's no doubt about it. So parents do need to be more aware for sure.
Well, I mean, Mark, you make a great point. I absolutely. And listen, it's a conversation. It's an absolute conversation that we've not had before. So,
I'm disturbed. I can say this. I'm disturbed by I'm going to be on the Seth team or I'm going to be on the Proudfoot team.
I'm Team Sebastian. That's the only thing that matters.
Well, I know your Team Sebastian, but in your mind, you feel like the Proudfoots have been cleared of culpability, right?
Nope. Listen, I can be kind to both and I can have questions to both. Yeah. But in the end, until law enforcement says this is what happened, I can offer kindness and I can also provide information that some people don't know or give a perspective from my life experience that might make somebody understand why.
And you're an advocate. So you do have, right?
It depends on who you ask out here.
Well, that's okay because I'm not a psychologist.
Right.
Like, you know that, right?
We're only LARPers. I mean, it is what it is.
And I'm good with that. I actually had this was pretty funny. I actually had an ugly comment left the other day. Something along the lines of, 70 years old wearing ringlets. Talking about my hair. And I thought, I laughed. I laughed when I read it and I said, you are digging deep for that insult.
Would you like a shovel?
Yeah, I'm not 70 years old. But even if I was,
what does it matter? Ageism much?
It was pure ageism. And what was so funny to me is I was like, why are you so offended by my hair? That is so, I have thousands of hours of videos up, right?
Right.
That's the best you can do.
That's the best you got.
You can't find any other attack on me than you don't like my hairstyle. That's so
Batter out.
That's right. Like, okay, obviously I've been careful, so I'm happy with that. So yeah. People are weird. People are strange. Every time I start talking about YouTube experiences, that song pops in my head. People are strange when they're a stranger. Yeah. That ought to be the prevailing song on every YouTube channel.
God is great. Beer is good.
People are crazy. Yeah.
Oh. Jules, thank you so much for the conversation. This has been wonderful.
Same. I had a great time, and it's good to be able to talk about the other perspective, right? Because there's questions.
You gave me some food for thought today. I may have given you something to ruminate on. And in a week, we will meet back.
Absolutely. I welcome it. Yeah, I welcome it for sure.
Absolutely. Anytime. You know, I think the reason that I adore you so much is that you do realize that this is YouTube and people get super lost in their emotions.
Oh,
and
so
they
big.
will pop off and they'll say something, but then you can turn around and be like, all right, so I heard what you said. I don't appreciate it. Can we talk?
Yeah, let's just go. The emotion's gone now. Now let's talk. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, Queen Momin, I'm like a diamond. I have many different facets. I came out here in a role playing a persona of somebody that was angry and scorned, and I stayed in that. But this is more of my real me. This is I know it'll get used against me, but I felt safe and comfortable enough to open up and talk about a few of the things that I do in my real life, because originally, if anybody knows anything, a conversation that Jules and I had with Ryan Upchurch is what ended up being able to further my mission. And he gave me, after giving him a different perspective, he gave me a large donation, and I was able to throw it back into what I do. And
he was appreciative of the fact-based information that you were able to give. He
compensated for an educational time is what I felt like.
Yeah. And I know that he's done a lot to really alienate a lot of people. People don't like his way. But he also wasn't treated very well by a certain situation. But all in all, any conversation we've ever had, he's completely polite and kind and interested. He asks a lot of questions, So yeah, I wish people would not be so knee-jerk reaction. I wish people could be just a little bit more open to the exchange of information, and things might be less crazy here on YouTube if we were able to do that.
I also think that it has something to do with the fact that you come with a large amount of education and professional experience behind you. One of the things that if you think about it, he's dealt with music professionals in the industry, right? You're no different. You're a psychology, you're a mental health professional.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. So
yeah. No, I think he's definitely, people aren't going to like this, but he's a unique person, and he is incredibly intelligent. And I think sometimes that's a hard road. It's very difficult to find your path when you're in a particular niche. And he is a genius. He is. He's not a chemistry genius.
No.
Um,
He's a very artistically creatively talented.
He's incredibly talented, but how many of these musicians have been able to bypass Nashville or LA to turn their career into a multi-million-dollar endeavor without the coveted label, without the advertising machine? And he has done that, and not very many people have been able to make that happen. Ali Sheedy is a singer from Ireland or Scotland. I think it's Ireland. And she's probably got one of the best voices that I've heard in decades, but she just can't get off the ground. She's got 1 million followers. She's making a nice income with YouTube videos, but boy, she could be so much more. But she just can't get it. She just can't figure out what to do. And he managed it. I don't know how he did it, but he definitely called it and managed it. He does have he has a lot of respect for people that are mainstream music industry, Kid Rock, some of, he has gained a lot of respect from them, probably for the same reason. How'd you do it? Like we couldn't do it. How did you do it? So it's kind of interesting, but anyway, I think he's an interesting person. I think his background, his history, very complicated, lots of abuse. And, I think he's done something that nobody else could do. So I think that's interesting.
Puts him in his own category.
Completely in his own category. And others know it. The other musicians know that he's sort of the one to study and figure out how to do it. So, but he's always been nice and, respectful. And I do think he got treated terribly by his mom and dad. And they basically stole his money,
Listen, the same thing happened to an independent artist that happens to mainstream artists. That's just right. Shows you that type of thing doesn't discriminate, right?
That's right. Johnny Depp got taken for millions by his business manager. Yep. Sure did. Yep. So, all right. Anyway, it was a great Friday afternoon.
Thank you so much. This was I always enjoy the conversations with you. I really do.
I do too. We should do it more often. I have not really been on as much as I was like during the Chris Watts days, but I missed it. Like I've wanted to, but things are super busy in my life. Got a lot going on.
Same here. Here. And it's
I just told myself I'm gonna start doing weekends. Like I can't really do it during the week, but I'm gonna make myself. So thank you for making it so great and enjoyable. Appreciate it.
It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, anytime I will always pop up. This has been great.
You're always welcome. Always.
Thank you, Jules. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Chat, thanks for hanging out and thanks for being nice and not trying to cut my head off.
No.
Looks like Chat actually enjoed it. Look at that. Yeah. I might have even won somebody over. They're like, I normally don't like voices, but it's different over here. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a great conversation.
You always give me an opportunity to show a different side of myself, and I appreciate that.
Good.
Everybody always sees my backside. They got to see my front side today.
There you go. And it's a nice side. So you have a good evening. Bye.
Bye.
All right, let's see. So yeah, it was fun, Daisy. I really enjoyed it. Hey, Tootie. LARPer is a live action role play. Like what I think Tony Mathis, I think he's a LARPer. I think he watched people commenting on true crime cases and he just said, well, all they're doing is talking. I can do that. And so he thought that he could, represent Seth and also, Caleb Harris's dad, Randy. And it's just been a disaster. He's just made terrible, terrible decisions. Not only has he really ruined the support that Sebastian Rogers had, he's also driven his own reputation into the ground. So it's been a disaster. And then he called the FBI to come in when he's the one that actually broke the law. So he's a mess. He's a mess. Where is Kathy? Hey, Liebe Cats, how are you doing? I thought I saw. Thank you for being here, Mark Klein. I appreciated your input so much. Hey, Queen Moomin. There's Kathy R. What did you think of the press conference implicating Victoria Yearman? Well, Kathy R., I didn't know about that. Let me look. That's crazy because wasn't that one of my Friday wild speculation topics? Yep. Victoria Yearman. The daughter has been accused. Wow. See, I didn't think it was the daughter. I didn't think it was the daughter. I thought maybe the mom. That was what I thought. But let me play this. Y'all hang on just a moment, please. Gilgo Beach attorneys accuse Rex Heuermann's daughter. Damn, this is getting deep. Woo! It is Wild Speculation Friday, but man, this is something else. Let me make sure that you guys can see that. I'm going to make it bigger too. I hate when I can't see the screen. There you go. All right, y'all ready? Let me make sure my sound is up too. Okay. All right, here we go.
Is someone who is an enthusiast for anthropomorphized animal characters, often portrayed in sexualized fashion. A sampling of this person's content can be found on the Twitter account ebchimera_adult. I might add that these images are not for the faint of heart. It is cartoon pornography, but it depicts various grotesque acts of bestiality. That this person produces grotesque cartoon hentai style pornography is significant, as it is seemingly the only account with which Victoria has engaged publicly, deeming this person's content worthy of a reblog, and that according to the district attorney, Rex Heuermann himself searched specifically for hentai porn, searches which the DA described as sadistic. While Victoria's likes on Tumblr are not available for public review, some counts are, she has chosen not to make hers public. We can look to the list of accounts she follows to inform us as to what kinds of images.
Are y'all listening to this insanity? I got to start this over. I'm so confused. I'm going to need y'all to clear this up for me. Let's listen. What is this young woman speaking about?
For those who are unfamiliar, a furry is someone who is an enthusiast for anthropomorphized animal characters, often portrayed in sexualized fashion. A sampling of this person's content can be found on the Twitter account ebchimera_adult. I might add that these images are not for the faint of heart. It is cartoon pornography.
And chimera is like two DNAs in one animal, right? Gross.
But it depicts various grotesque acts of bestiality.
Yep, that would be chimera.
Produces grotesque cartoon hentai style pornography is significant, as it is seemingly the only account with which Victoria has engaged publicly, deeming this person's content worthy of a reblog, and that according to the district attorney, Rex Heuermann himself searched specifically for hentai porn, searches which the DA described as sadistic. While Victoria's likes on Tumblr are not available for public review, some counts are, she has chosen not to make hers public. We can look to the list of accounts she follows to inform us as to what kinds of images Victoria is viewing. Upon examination of the roster of accounts Victoria follows on Tumblr, nearly every account is focused on the circulation of furry art and images. Victoria has a preference for furry pornographic material, and dark, macabre art as seen on various accounts. And I'll go into some of these accounts right now. There's Ebony Chimera, a furry porn content creator. NIEH Furry, a furry content and furry porn creator. I guess I should be thankful. A furry porn and furry content creator who links to a fan fiction account of theirs on
Okay, I just got to say one thing. Mr. Brooks. If you know what I'm referring to, put a 1 in the chat. Kevin Costner's movie, Mr. Brooks. If you know it, put a 1 in the chat. Oh my God, Liebe Cats. Are you serious? Oh my God. Oh, Kelly. Oh, knows. Oh, Kelly. Is it a great movie? Such a great movie. Only one person knows who Mr. Brooks is? Wow, you guys need to get to watching your Kevin Costner movies. Mr. Brooks is a horror movie. It's the second horror movie that Kevin Costner has done. It is so good. And this story that we're listening to right now reminds me of Mr. Brooks.
a website called Archive of Our Own, which publishes explicit content. This person's works and bookmarks displays a preference for fan fiction with the self-described themes of graphic depictions of violence, rape, child abuse, strangulation, underage prostitution, asphyxiation, and rough sex.
My God.
Squeak Squad 524, a blog which describes itself as an art blog of Yiffertons, Yif and its derivations, being slang terms used by furries to refer to pornographic content of anthropomorphic animal characters. Lilera, the account from which most of these images come, and it's an account which circulates disturbing images of gore, violent pornography, and other fetish content. The content creator describes themselves and their blog and their bio as a gore whore, with content warnings, self-described as extreme gore, hard vor, violence extreme, vor being cannibalistic imagery of a victim eaten alive. This is to quote the dictionary, the prey's flesh being ripped, chewed, or bitten, resulting in horrific injuries and often loss of life. According to a translator familiar with Scandinavian languages with whom we consulted, Victoria's account handle Vinan de Madtour may itself be an allusion to eating and consumption, a disturbing reference when considered in the context of the hard vor fetish content Victoria views and follows.
This is crazy, isn't it? Crazy. What the hell? Well, what do you guys think? That is definitely something else. Oh no, try to find it from the beginning. Yeah, that was just a portion. Let me see. Gilgo Beach. Okay, stop sharing. Let me see if I can find the full one, y'all. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves, friends. Gilgo Beach accuse Yerman. Okay, that's the one we just listened to. I got to tell you something too. Have y'all seen that picture of Rex Heuermann where he's wearing the red hat and the fatigue jacket in the woods? He looks like a Hollywood stereotypical murderer, creep, right? He is definitely playing up the part. Um, I don't see the full. I don't see the full clip. Okay, that's the one we just watched. Okay, Rex Uhrman's alibi. Lisk John Ray implicates Uhrman's wife, Asa, and daughter Victoria. Is he right? That is True Crime Rocket Science. His video was from 24 hours ago. BTK's killer. No, that's not it. Ashley Banfield. That was a week ago. I don't see. That's the clip, y'all. That's the whole. Let me try this one. I think it's the same, but let's look. That's the one we just watched. Let's try this other one here. They're both the same. I can't cinnamon. I can't find the I can't find it. I like True Crime Rocket Science too, Daisy. I don't see the whole press conference. Can you find it? You watched it on Pascal. So Pascal had showed the whole clip. He's a bit pompous, but he does. Well, okay. You're talking about True Crime Rocket Science, right? That's who you're talking about, Kelly. He let's be accurate here. He is an author. He's a published author, and he does he's made that transition, I think, recognizing that paper books are not really selling anymore like they did. But even when it was paper books, he was doing very well as a published author. He's just made the transition over to YouTube to continue. He still investigates to write his books. He's like an investigative journalist, and now he's doing a YouTube channel. It increased his income. But this is not True Crime Rocket Science. It's not a case where he just like Tony just decided he could talk and he would make a channel. He actually is a professional with a history of accomplishment. And so, going and listening to his channel is extremely informative. And, he conducts himself like a professional would, so you don't get all the drama and excitement, right? I really enjoy Scott Reich. He's also he's a professional defense attorney, criminal defense attorney in Colorado. But if you join his membership and go to Patreon to watch every Tuesday night, he does live. He's funny as he can be. He's a hilarious guy. And you don't often get to see the humor in his just weekly program. But if you go to the Patreon show, he's a very, very funny guy. So he makes me laugh. Yeah, I like him. Oh, the Van Gogh. Yeah, the True Crime Rocket Science Van Gogh series was so good. If y'all haven't seen that, that's a great one for sure. And I also, yes, I will definitely agree, Kelly. True Crime Rocket Science. I think he's got a really jaded attitude about women. Sorry about that, True Crime Rocket Scientist. I do think he errs on women are bad. I think that's true, but you can't look. There's a lot of people that have been jaded and develop a negative attitude towards, the opposite sex. it still doesn't take away from the fact that he's a professional. He's an excellent writer. He does amazing research, comes up with very, very interesting detail and fact. And so, yeah, so I respect that. I listened to all his videos that he puts up. Dr. Brucato was there at the news press. Really? That is interesting. Oh my God, having a hard time finding the link. Duty Ron placed it. I don't know, but I think that is going to be a really great, interesting conversation for the psychological side of the topic, correct? So I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to end this live. I mean, hell, we're only 2.5 hours in. Why not, right? I myself am fond of the opposite sex. Funky, not funky, junkie, funky, just funky. Couldn't you just choose a name like Bob or Harry? Okay. No, your name is wonderful, Funky Jasunky. I think I'm going to end this live, and I'm going to go back through and really watch it carefully, go look up the resources, references that they cite in the press conference. And then I'll be back later on and we'll do the whole psychology thing. How would that be? That'd be something y'all be interested in? Oh no, the ending. I'm sorry, Cheated No More. All good things have got to come to an end. Yes. Yeah. So Dr. Brucato and Dr. John, they're the same thing as I am, or Dr. G. We're all clinical psychologists. I work clinically. I work in hospitals and private practice. There was a period of time where I was doing court-ordered evaluations, and I did some. I didn't like it. It's another story because you're working for someone else. You're not working for the person that you're testing. So that was hard for me. You know, my empathy was tested. Yeah, so I just went to the medical side of it. I work primarily in trauma. People like maybe that had catastrophic car wrecks, amputations, trying to learn to restart their life after, they have to get prosthetics or whatever. That's what I do. I do pain management and did a lot of work for a long time with autism. So I still have a few of those patients, but most of what I do now is trauma related. So I work in a lot of hospitals and stuff. Well, I guess not a lot, but I do hospital work and private. All right. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to end this. I want to go back through the interview and really listen and take some time, find out everything I can find out about Victoria, about her history and such. So if you guys, let me do this. If you guys have any direction, if you have some video clips, if you have some articles or something regarding Victoria, her mom, or her dad, feel free to email them to me. Here's my email address. And I'll keep an eye on it tonight. So, clips or anything that you've got. I'm also going to be searching on my own to see what I can find. And then I'd like to come back and talk about this press conference, the implications of, chimera, bestiality, sex, attraction, cartoonish type stuff. What are you talking about here? Like what would cause or create a young woman to gravitate towards such a thing? But more importantly, I'm going to tell you right now what I'm thinking. I'm wondering in my head, are we sure that this was Victoria? How do we know that it wasn't Rex, again, LARPing, live action role play, pretending to be his daughter in these filthy, psychopathic, deviant websites? It could have been Rex just acting out a role where his daughter's concerned. It is horribly disturbingly to cats. And I felt it was horribly disturbing too that they found Ace's hair wrapped in some of the tape. And I admit, I acknowledge full on that she lived in the house. So there could be bits of long hair laying about and her not even be home. I get that. I definitely understand that. But it's definitely an interesting factoid, right? It's a tiny little detail that may not be significant at all, but it's interesting nevertheless. And so she has her own actual artwork. Cheated No More. Where might I find that? They would not be the first chainsaw family. Thank you. Aren't you right? Sometimes we have to just remember people are not victims forever. At some point, they take accountability and don't play along, or they become complicit. Yeah, 100%. You talk to people that are batterers, they generally usually were victimized as children. So at some point, the victims will turn into the offender. They have done a lot of digital search to verify Victoria, and there are pictures of her in a different persona. Okay, now we're crossing into interesting land. In a different persona. I wonder if it's dissociative identity disorder. I put the link in. I didn't see a link, Cinnamon. Hold on, let me go back to the. I see it now. Thank you. I'm going to have to go to YouTube to pick up the link though. I'm just getting my link, y'all. Thank you, Cinnamon Hot Hot. You are awesome. Okay, let me find the link. Hold on. Go to the live. Don't y'all love my parrot picture? I love my parrot picture. Oh, I look rough today. I'm not wearing any makeup. I look like the devil. I know better than to go live without trying to make myself look decent. People have some ugly things to say to me. Let's see. Where is the link? Oh, my chat is not playing. Why isn't my side chat playing? Shoot. Will you please email that to me, Cinnamon Hot Hot? It is Fools and Sages, like the Aerosmith song. Fools and Sages with Z instead of S. Thank you, my friend, because otherwise I can't get the link and it's just a bunch of letters. You are very kind, Jen, but I gotta admit my confidence is not good, but I didn't care today. I was like, just go live. People don't like your ringlets anyway. No, I'm kidding. I lived under total terror. My father was dangerous. I believe he filmed them. I am against this and lived in utter terror under that roof. People are making excuses for Victoria. Thank you. Well said. Cheated No More. Very well said. The one thing that really makes me madder than a hornet is people to misstate the statistics, right? Like I think there was this issue with Christopher Proudfoot that if a kid is sexually assaulted, that he's likely to become an offender. That is so wrong. That is the most incorrect statistic that there is. That is often put out there as fact, and that is wrong. The actual statistic is for people who are in fact offenders, when you go back and look at their history, often they themselves had been victimized. But there are millions of people that were victimized as children who chose the opposite direction. They fight for children's rights. They would die to defend a child. And it's a very, very small percentage of people that were victimized that will later become offenders. Very small percentage. But yes, those people who are offenders, they very often do have a history of abuse in their past. So yeah, everybody has free will, everybody has choice. And when the realization comes, hey, this isn't right, this should not be happening, kids do make the decision, I don't want this, this is wrong, completely wrong, and I'm going to fight back against this. So, Cheated No More, my heart goes out to you, prayers, and I'm so grateful that you're such a strong person and you're living your best life. So good for you, really. Say it louder for the ones in the back. It is so often misspoken. It burns me up, makes me so angry. But that's people. So all right, y'all. I'm gonna go. You're awesome. Cinnamon, if you can email that link to Victoria's artwork, I would just be so grateful. I'll go over to Duty Ron's. I'll go to Brucata's channel and see if I can find the actual full press conference. Spend a few hours trying to research and read and see. Maybe this would be a good topic for Saturday afternoon, depending on how much information's out there and how deep this goes. And we'll see, because I'm telling you, this whole psychopathic intergenerational type, this could turn out to be very interesting. Horrible nightmare for sure, but this could get really crazy. Really. And I still think the Idaho 4 case is going to get crazy. I think it's about to get crazy. It's about to bust wide open, I think. So absolutely Cheated No More and Jen Madison. All right. Okay, everybody. Y'all are awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you'll hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't. And I will be back either later this evening or we'll do a Saturday afternoon live where we'll really go in deep. It just depends on what I find. Okay. All right. Thank y'all for seeing this through. Y'all were awesome. Talk to you later.